going on, all you wonderful A-plusers out there? It is I, Stuart, here once again with another review for you. This time I'm going to be talking about My Adventures with Superman, Season 2, Episode number 5, Most Eligible Superman. This is the episode, of course, that we have been waiting for. That's right, Supergirl has finally arrived, and why did they design her to look exactly like Android 18? I mean, not that I'm complaining, because I think she looks awesome in this, but I mean, come on, like, really? you could have been a little more subtle about this, but what are you gonna do? Sorry, it was just funny to me how similar they look. But that all being said, let's get into the episode and talk about it. So the episode, of course, starts out with Perry assigning Clark and Lois to cover a reality show called The Most Eligible Bachelor. And Cat Grant is a bit jealous that she is not the one assigned to this, but of course Perry White wants Lois and Clark to work on this because he suspects that Superman will arrive because he's one of the eligible bachelors that they want to show up, and the fact that the profits from this reality show are going to go to charity, and if we know anything about Superman is that he cannot say no to charity. So Lois and Clark agree to cover this, with Clark agreeing to show up as Superman, and as they are about to leave, Cat Grant of course convinces Lois to let her tag along. This leads to a gag that I honestly thought was going to last the entire episode, but only really goes on for the first 5 minutes, which is Cat claiming that she knows a secret of Superman's that Lois knows as well, implying that she knows who Superman really is. But of course, upon arrival, the reveal is that she knows that Superman is not actually a bachelor, but that he's in a relationship with someone. So at first, it's like, okay, there's a bit of relief, but then Lois is like, wait, what do you mean a relationship with someone? And it seems like she's about to reveal that she knows that Superman is dating Lois, but of course then she reveals clearly he's with one of the other bachelors on this show. So it was a cute gag, and again, I feel like if this was a show written like 20 years ago, that would have lasted the entire episode. Kind of going back to Dragon Ball Z, I know I already did a comparison with Supergirl and Android 18's design, but this actually kind of reminds me of a plot from a Dragon Ball Z episode where Gohan as Saiyan Man changes on the roof from Saiyan Man to Gohan and runs into another one of his classmates, and she claims that she knows Gohan's secret, and so the entire time he thinks that she knows that Gohan is Saiyan Man, but then of course the very end of the episode, it turns out that she just happened to walk in on Gohan changing his pants and saw that he wore like teddy bear underwear, and that was the big secret of Gohan's that she knew. So that was what I kind of expected to happen in this episode. It didn't, and I think again maybe the only reason I'm really thinking of that episode in particular, Dragon Ball Z, is because of Supergirl's design. I'm sorry I keep bringing that up, but it's just hilarious to me. So all that being said, this part of the plot I thought was really interesting because while it wasn't the gag of the misunderstanding lasting throughout the entire episode, it was the kind of thing where Cat, like mentioning the kind of person that Superman would be with, ends up kind of unraveling Lois's insecurities that she's kind of shown throughout this previous season, especially in the previous episode after her dad left and her just kind of having this mentality that everyone always leaves her. So in this, we have a scene where Superman is essentially on stage as one of the bachelors. One of the other bachelorettes is kind of being very flirty with him. And what I like about the scene is that Superman is friendly, but he's not flirting back. And so even after she kisses him on the cheek, this does upset Lois, but not really for the reasons you might think. Like, I don't think that Lois was necessarily just upset by the fact that someone kissed Superman on the cheek, but I think it was more that she already had all this stuff building from her dad, and then also just like Cat Grant unintentionally making her feel more insecure about herself. And then I think it was that kiss that was kind of like the straw and caused her to be really upset. But what I love is how Superman notices this immediately and immediately tries to make sure that Lois is okay and apologize. And the reason I bring this scene up in particular is because it kind of reminds me of a scene in Spider-Man 3 where this was not handled the way I think it should have been, where essentially you have Spider-Man asking Gwen Stacy to kiss him in front of everyone while he's still, in a very serious relationship with Mary Jane, and he is surprised that this upsets Mary Jane. Now, this scene would have made more sense if the symbiote had already attached itself to Spider-Man and was therefore already influencing his mind in one way or another, but we didn't have that yet. His mind had yet to be influenced, and so he just, like, as Peter Parker, he just uncharacteristically, makes out with another woman in front of everyone, while he's in a serious relationship with Mary Jane, and he's shocked that this upsets her. I like how in Superman, again, he's not flirting back with her. He's just being very friendly, and the moment he sees that this upsets Lois, he actually does what I think a partner should do and apologizes. But this does unfortunately lead to Lois Lane basically unraveling all her insecurities and then admitting to Clark that she took a job at Gotham for the Gazette, which also leads to Clark revealing to her that he sent the signal out to her cousin, showing that they both kind of have been keeping secrets from each other, and that there is clearly some, talking the two of them really need to do with each other. But unfortunately, it seems like Lois is just kind of past the point of talking, and kind of that cliche of wanting to leave people before she herself is left, is about to break up with Superman. But this breakup is interrupted, thankfully, by Kara. I say thankfully, but it's also not necessarily a good thing as well, but we'll get into that. So first, before I get into this scene, I want to talk about Kara herself and kind of the plot leading up to it with Jimmy, where Jimmy is kind of trying to avoid Clark because he feels like he really let Clark down, and he doesn't really know how to apologize. So when he sees that Kara is looking for someone, he basically kind of helps her both to be friendly, but also as a way to avoid having to talk to Clark and have to admit that he messed up, even though, again, I personally don't think he did mess up. I just think he lost a debate, which sucks. There are people out there who are smart and are really good at debating, but that doesn't mean that they are right. And I think that's what happened with Jimmy and Alexander Luthor, or Lex Luthor, whichever version of Lex we have on this show. I know he calls himself Lex Luthor, but again, I'm getting more Alexander vibes personally. But we'll see if we ever get like an actual Lex Luthor, or if he is the actual Lex Luthor as the show goes on. But regardless, Lex Luthor was a better debater. He was not right. He's just a better, he's basically a xenophobe who is really smart. And unfortunately, Jimmy just didn't know how to deal with that when the two of them were debating in front of everyone at Star Labs. Plus, not to mention, I'd say Jimmy was kind of doomed from the start, given that everyone there was already in the mindset of hating Superman. And, one person cannot convince an entire crowd of people that hate is wrong. That's nearly impossible. So, while Jimmy feels guilty, me personally, I don't think he needs to be guilty. He needs to feel guilty, and I hope that's something that Clark tells him when the two of them do have a chance to talk things out. So after all this, eventually Jimmy and Kara do arrive on the world's most eligible bachelor, and that's when Kara finds Superman, her cousin, and that's when Jimmy kind of puts it together that okay, she's not weird, she's actually not from this planet. Now, for context of that, during their whole thing together, when he was like kind of showing her around, she was very oblivious as to the ways of Earth, and he thought not too much of it. He just thought that maybe she was just from out of town, but she didn't know what ice cream was, she didn't know what hot dogs were, and she was also just surprised to see how much freedom people in Metropolis had. So she arrives and she's it's almost like kind of like her instincts are just like kind of taken over, and she just doesn't feel like this world makes sense, and it's weird for her to see Superman indulging in this world's pleasures and things like that. And so she admits that she could see why someone could be tempted, but she doesn't understand how Cal could, in her point of view, that is, go against the ideology of the Kryptonian Empire. So we end up getting a really cool fight between the two of them. Now, something I'll say about this fight. At first, I had an issue with it, and mostly with it being a kid's show, it kind of felt like a watered down version of the fight from Invincible, but I really don't think that's what they were going for watching it a second time. Watching it a second time, you kind of realize what's happening is that you get Superman, who is getting his ass kicked by Supergirl during this whole fight. I say Supergirl even though she's not Supergirl yet, she's still just Kara Zor-El, but he's getting his ass kicked, but mostly it's because he's focusing his energy on trying to protect the people around her while still causing a lot of collateral damage. We don't see anyone actually getting hurt, which is very much a Superman thing to do, because Superman, his whole thing is that he likes to de-escalate a fight. He tries to avoid a fight whenever he can, and that's what he's doing. He's trying to talk through this with Kara, and through this of him talking this out through Kara, we see that Kara still believes that the Kryptonian Empire is strong, despite the fact that Krypton is gone. She still believes that the mindset of the Kryptonian Empire should still play out. So she is trying to get Clark to either kneel before her or submit and help her conquer the Earth. And of course, Clark does neither. This leads to a really cool fight again, where Superman unfortunately does get his ass kicked because he's trying to protect the people around rather than actually trying to fight back. And there's one point during this fight where she's about to cause a lot of collateral damage, but then he shows off one of his powers that isn't from the comic books, at least as far as I know. And the suit that Kara is wearing, which is an AI suit, happens to notice this and changes her instructions from killing Cal to wanting to capture him alive. So eventually she does, after knocking Cal out. She takes him, and that's the end of the episode. Now, I do have a theory about who this villain is, and by theory, I mean I think IMDb actually kind of spoiled it, because I ended up looking up some of the actors on IMDb because I was curious on who was voicing Kara. And two funny things that I found. One, there are a couple of Arrowverse cameos, or not cameos, but Arrowverse actors that are in this. So for one, Kara is voiced by Kiana Madeira, who actually played a one-off, I believe, villain of the week in the Flash TV show. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then we got Michael Emerson voicing the suit. And Michael Emerson was, of course, I think most people, of course, probably know him from the first Saw movie, but he was also in Arrow season 5 as one of the main villains, basically the villain who thought that Arrow had killed his son. So I thought that was kind of cool to get like two Arrowverse actors in this show. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but a part of me wants to believe that it was. The other thing too is that the suit, if you look it up on IMDb, is referred to as Brainiac, which makes sense because when you look at some of the technology that the Kryptons have been using, the famous like kind of three dots, the three lights that are connected in a V shape, are kind of like scattered throughout like all the Kryptonian flashbacks, which implies that they use Brainiac technology in order to enhance their society, which is something that happened in the Justice League animated series as well. I believe in the original comic books where Brainiac debuted, he didn't necessarily, his origins weren't from Krypton, but he did have interactions with Kryptons. In fact, I think that's where the bottled city that comes from Krypton actually came from, was like him shrinking a city on Krypton and then holding it in a bottle, which of course later became a part of the Fortress of Solitude that Superman himself keeps as like a part of home. So all this to say, I think it's safe to say that our main villain that we're going to be getting introduced to by the end of the season will actually be Brainiac. Now, one other theory I do kind of have is Kara does mention her dad as if her dad is still alive, and I'm wondering if her dad in this version of this universe is actually Zod. Now, I don't think Zod was Superman's uncle in the comic books, but it would be kind of an interesting take to do in this universe, because again, this is very much like they want you to know that this isn't your typical Superman like mythos. They have a very they're not afraid to make changes here and there with this Superman series. So if Zod was either her actual dad or if he's just someone claiming to be her dad, I think that would be a very unique twist on the character. So those are just some predictions I have going forward. So how will Superman get out of this? We don't know. I guess we'll have to wait till next week. Something I am kind of hoping for is some of the allies that he's made over the last couple episodes. Like, it would be kind of cool if Sam Lane or Steel actually were the ones to try to help rescue Superman in the next episode, with the help, of course, of Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane. We keep getting this gag of Jimmy's money, his network constantly getting lower and lower. I wouldn't doubt if the main thing that caused that network to go all the way to zero was him renting a space shuttle from Star Labs or somewhere, and then that's what caused this network to go from still being a millionaire to suddenly zero. that's a prediction I have too. But I haven't seen any previews for the next episode, and I don't think I will. I kind of want to go into the next episode completely surprised. But overall, this was a fun episode. I really like this take on Supergirl, and one of my biggest concerns that I brought up earlier was I didn't want Supergirl to be introduced too early, because then I thought it would make Superman's job a little bit too easy, and that wouldn't make for interesting television. So with Supergirl being an antagonist, it doesn't make his job easier, it makes it a lot more difficult, and I think that was a great direction to take the series. So honestly, I'm excited to see how they go with the next half of the series, or the season I should say. Hopefully not series, because I'm assuming this is going to get it renewed for a third season, but I guess we'll have to wait and see there. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed the episode, but of course at the end of the day, these are just my A+ opinions. We here at A+ Opinions always want to know what you guys think, so definitely let me know your thoughts of this episode in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, but of course, guys, above all, don't forget to keep it A+, and I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.